Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition show where I preview and predict every first-round series of the NBA playoffs. I'm going to make this short and sweet for all of you. I apologize for not doing it on yesterday's show for two reasons. One, I didn't have time, and two, I wanted to see how the game between Golden State and Memphis would play out last night to make a pick for the Jazz's first-round opponent, which is now the Memphis Grizzlies. All right, so let's start in the East. The 1-8 is the 76ers as your 1 seed against the Wizards as your 8. The best player in the series, I think, will be Joel Embiid. He is an MVP finalist, as he should be. He's just been fabulous the whole season. The X factor for me in this series is Bradley Beal's health. If he's really not healthy, then I don't see this being a competitive series. And if he is healthy, I could see this going longer than folks expect. This is going to be a tough one in terms of number of games I'm going to predict the winner. I'm going to say that the 76ers win in 5 games. I think there'll be a game where Russell Westbrook just goes off and goes berserk and Bradley Beal scores like 40 points. So maybe that's the recipe for a Washington victory in like Game 3 or Game 4. But I'm going to say Philadelphia in 5 over the Washington Wizards. Your 2-7 in the East is your 2-seeded Brooklyn Nets against the 7-seeded Boston Celtics. The best player in this series is Kevin Durant. He hasn't been healthy the whole year, but if he's healthy, he'll be the best player in the series, hands down. If not, James Harden. Brooklyn has the best 2 players in the series. Then I'd say Boston has the 3rd best player in Jason Tatum. And then obviously Brooklyn has the 4th best player in Kyrie Irving. The loss of Jaylen Brown is humongous. That's why I don't think that the Celtics are going to be in for the long haul here. So my pick here will be the Brooklyn Nets in 5 games. And I think there's going to be a game, maybe Game 3 or Game 4, where Boston's going to just go out and kick ass, and Jason Tatum will put up like a 48-7 type of game. So Nets in 5 over the Celtics. Your 3-6 in the East is your 3-seeded Milwaukee Bucks against the 6-seeded Miami Heat. Obviously, this is a rematch from last year's second round where the Heat infamously eliminated the Bucks in 5 games en route to their appearance to the NBA Finals. The best player in the series is obviously Giannis Antetokounmpo. Another fabulous year for Giannis, but I think it got overshadowed by other guys that had great years, and he is at the moment back-to-back MVP. So don't underestimate Giannis Antetokounmpo, guys. I think that he does have a lot of pressure on him to deliver in the postseason because he's really yet to do that as the franchise guy in the Bucks. The furthest they made it was up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Toronto Raptors back in 2019. I think they're going to get revenge on the Bucks or on the Heat, and they will win this series in 6 games. And Miami, I don't think is as good as they were last year. A couple role guys that they have this year rather than last year are worse than they were last year, or somebody like left that Heat team, like Jay Crowder, to go to the Suns, and that's like somebody that Miami could have used in this series. Your 4-5 in the East is a great series. Your 4-seeded Atlanta Hawks, the 5-seeded Atlanta Hawks against the 4-seeded New York Knicks. The Knicks are been the biggest surprise in the league so far. They have the coach of the year in Tom Thibodeau, the most improved player of the year in Derrick Rose, a 6th man of the year finalist in Derrick Rose, and a year 2 guy that made a big leap in R.J. Barrett, who I think could make an even bigger leap in the 2021-22 season. The Hawks really turned it around after a dismal start. They fired Lloyd Pierce. Nate McMillan turned that team around and into the Eastern Conference's 5 seed. This is a very talented team. They have more talent than the Knicks. Trae Young's a fabulous player. He's arguably the best player in the series, but although it could be Julius Randle. John Collins is a great player. Clint Capella's had a great season. Their second-year lottery pick, DeAndre Hunter, was their second-best player early on in the season, but he got hurt. He really hasn't been the same since. And I like that Hawks roster. Danilo Gallinari, good pickup. Bojan Bogdanovic, good pickup. But despite the Hawks probably having more talent than the Knicks, I'm going with the New York Knicks solely because of home court advantage. I don't think the Hawks could win a big game at Madison Square Garden to save their lives. And I think that the Knicks in the regular season got a taste of it a little bit with fans in some of their big wins this season, including over the Memphis Grizzlies when they came from behind and won that game in overtime. The Hawks game where Trae Young got hurt. So my pick for this will be the New York Knicks in 7 games over the Atlanta Hawks. To the Western Conference we go. Your 1-8, your 1-seeded Utah Jazz against the 8-seeded Memphis Grizzlies, although everyone and their brother thought it was going to be the Warriors. Well, oops. Best player in this series is going to be, I'm going to say Donovan Mitchell. Although I think there's a world where Ja Morant can outplay Donovan Mitchell, amazingly enough. I love Ja Morant. I think that he will really make a name for himself in the series, although it may not come in a series victory. Rudy Gobert has been fabulous this year. I know there's a lot of critics for Gobert because he was the first sports figure to test positive for COVID-19, and there's just a lot of pressure on him, and teams were booing him in opposing arenas, and I think Gobert really silenced some doubters and put up a fabulous year because you would have thought that the chemistry between him and Donovan Mitchell would have been broken because of that whole situation back in March, like how reporters have reported. So good job on the Jazz. And then they have 2 Sixth-Man of the Year candidates in Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson. Bogdan Bogdanovic has been great for them. They have some other nice role guys as well. Meanwhile, Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. back from injury. A lot of good role players on that team. Kyle Anderson, Xavier Tillman, who played great last night in their win over the Warriors. Jonas Valanciunas is an above-average starting center in the NBA. And Desmond Bane, the rookie, has been fabulous this year for Memphis as well. So, my pick here, I'm going to go with the Jazz in 5. I think there's going to be a game where Morant puts them on the back in Memphis, like game 3 or something like that, to have their little moment. But Jazz in 5 is my pick in this series. The best matchup of the first round, 2-seeded Phoenix Suns against the 7-seeded Los Angeles Lakers. Fabulous series. The best player in the series will be, obviously, LeBron James, as long as he's healthy. And then second best player will be Anthony Davis. The third best player will be Chris Paul. And the fourth best player will be Devin Booker. So, the Lakers have the best 2 players, but the Suns have the third and fourth best players. And arguably the 5th best player in the series, too, and DeAndre Ayton. So the Suns, amazing story. Monty Williams, a Coach of the Year finalist. Chris Paul, I'm telling you guys, he's a magician. Wherever he goes, he changes the fortunes. So I think that the Suns really have a shot here. Devin Booker's a fantastic scorer. Mikal Bridges has had a good season. Ayton's been up and down. Meanwhile, to me, the biggest X factor in the series is the health of the Lakers stars, LeBron and AD. I am not convinced that these guys are 100% healthy. And I don't think this is going to be easy for the Lakers. I know their role guys have been fabulous in the absences of Davis and James. Like Taylor Horton-Tucker, Dennis Schroeder, Marc Gasol at times, Andre Drummond. So they have a nice collection of role players. But you know what? Call me crazy. I think the Suns are going to win this series. I think it's going to be a 7-gamer with home court. I think those fans are going to go absolutely berserk. If the Lakers win this series, I think they have to be up 3-2 to do it. but I'm not convinced that they're going to be up 3-2 in the series. I think this goes 7, and I'm going to say that CP3 will lead his team into the second round. So my pick, the Phoenix Suns, in 7 games. All right, your 3-6 in the West, your 3-seeded Denver Nuggets against the 6-seeded Portland Trailblazers. Denver, to me, is a team that is playing with house money to some degree because of the injuries to Will Barton and Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic is the MVP frontrunner. He's been fabulous. Michael Porter Jr. is a candidate for most improved. He's been great. You have some other guys that I think have been fabulous as well on that team in Denver. And on the other side, Portland, Damian Lillard has the ability to be the best player in the series, but I think that's Jokic and then Lillard, but it's very, very close. But Portland has the second best player in the series in CJ McCollum. And then their team is really, really good. They have Robert Covington, Norman Powell, Carmelo Anthony coming off the bench. Yusuf Nurkic, who has really not stayed healthy that much, but has shown flashes of what he was before that injury. But this is a tough one, and because of the injuries that Denver has sustained, I'm going to pick the seed upset. Portland's actually favored in this series, believe it or not, which is wild. They are a minus 122 favorite, which I think is incorrect. But that said, I'm going to pick them to win this series in 6 games over the Denver Nuggets. And I think that Damian Lillard will have a clutch shot or 2 in this series. And Damian Lillard will have a clutch shot or 2 in this series as well. And last but not least, your 4-5 in the West. Your 4-seeded Los Angeles Clippers against the 5-seeded Dallas Mavericks. The Clippers, to me, are just this dominated regular season force that really never put it all together in the postseason. Last year, they obviously choked in the bubble, up 3-1 against Denver. We know what happened in the second round. Kawhi and Paul George have been great this year when they've been healthy. Rajon Rondo, I think, has been a great pickup for the Clippers. The best player in the series, I think, will be Kawhi. But you can make a case Dallas has the second best player in the series in Luka Doncic. The third best player in the series is Paul George. And the fourth best player in the series, to me, if he's healthy, is Kristaps Porzingis of Dallas. Then the same cast of characters pretty much is still there for the Clippers. Marcus Morris, Patrick Beverley, Ivica Zubac. So they have a good collection of role players that tend to step up. And on the opposite side, you got, obviously, Porzingis and Doncic. J.J. Redick has been a good pickup for them, but he's missing game 1, which is a big loss for them. He's a veteran that's been in big games before. And I feel bad for Redick because he would want to get a little bit of revenge on the Clippers. Boban Marjanovic is a nice role player that everybody loves to watch. Jalen Brunson's a good player. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a great year. Although Dallas might have the best player in the series on some nights in the series, they're not going to win this series. I think the Clippers are deeper. They're better. The better coach, obviously, is Rick Carlisle. But the star power of Kawhi and Paul George and their past experience will prevail here. So I'm going to say the Clippers in 6 as the pick in this series against the Dallas Mavericks. All right, quick little fun activity. The Raiders' Bill Simmons likes to do Ewing theory. And I have a couple candidates here for some playoff teams. In the first series, the 2-7 in the East, Jaylen Brown, I think, would be a good pick if the Celtics magically started playing better. In the 1-8, that's a tough one. If one of the Sixers stars is hurt, then maybe. We'll see. but there's no significant injuries right now on either side, although the Wizards have one going for them right now. Thomas Bryant's been hurt the whole year, and they've survived without him, so that's the Ewing theory guy on the Wizards. We talked about Jaylen Brown. Brooklyn, if one of the big three isn't healthy and they go on a run, then that's the guy, whatever those big three. Let's say they make the finals, and let's say Kyrie Irving gets hurt. There you go. That's it. Or maybe Blake Griffin gets hurt. Blake Griffin's been a big part of the Brooklyn Nets. If he gets hurt, maybe it's him, and they go on a run. Milwaukee, I really don't have a particular choice for them. And on the other side, Miami, Oladipo. Yeah, he barely even played a game for the Heat. But if they go on a run, they're like, oh, we didn't need Victor Oladipo. So that's a good one. And then the 4-5 Knicks Hawks, to me, it's Mitchell Robinson, the big man on the Knicks. He got injured in Washington a couple of months ago, and he's out for the season. And they've played great without him, so he's the obvious Ewing theory guy for the New York Knicks. And then, I don't know if there's really one on Atlanta. I mean, are they better without Hunter? Because they went on this run without Hunter. So you could argue DeAndre Hunter for them. So the West, the 1-8, that's a tough one. If there's a guy that's hurt and the team just magically plays better without him. I mean, I don't think the Jazz were better without Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, and both those guys should be back for the series. And there's no one on Memphis that's currently hurt. Although they were fine without JJJ, weirdly enough. But he's back now. The Lakers-Suns series, that's also a tough one for me to identify a player. But maybe Anthony Davis gets hurt and the Lakers go on a run. But without those two guys, there's no Ewing theory. Let's be honest. No Ewing theory. And then on Phoenix's side, I don't think there's any significant injuries. And then the 3-6, to me, the candidate's Murray. If Denver wins and goes on a run, Jamal Murray, easy candidate there. And then the 4-5 between the Mavs and the Clippers. If Kristaps Porzingis isn't healthy, maybe that's it. And the Dallas Mavericks somehow win a series without Kristaps Porzingis. They've had fine moments without Porzingis this year, but I don't think I'm ready to identify him as a Ewing theory guy. But maybe they play well without J.J. Redick. Maybe that's it. But I can't really find one on the Clippers, although a Ewing theory in the case of a role player that's not on the team anymore, Lou Williams. He was traded to the Hawks. And maybe the Clippers finally break through. Then you can say, oh, Lou Williams, playoff disaster player, and they win without him. So this is a Ewing theory in the case of a player getting traded. So to me, a good one would be Lou Williams in theory. Alrighty. I guess that's it for the show. Like I said, short and sweet today. I'll be back on Monday recapping all the game ones and all that. So enjoy the rest of the weekend, guys.